Yeah, I mean, it really has to fit our culture, right? And that's really the thing that we kept going back to is, does this fit our culture, right? Is it going to fit with the people that we are marketing to, right?
Welcome to Barbell Business. I'm Mike Bletzer with Marcus Gursey, and we have traveled up to Riverside, California, where we are at Athletics United, and one of the fastest growing gyms in Southern California right now. That's right. And you guys have been just blowing up the last few months, and we're going to get into that. We have Jake Sirokman of Mantis.
Two ends.
Two ends. We'll get into that. And we have Brian Arthurn. So these guys are business partners. I think this might be the first show where we interviewed business partners, and I think we talk about that quite frequently. And yeah,
and these guys are up to something pretty unique in how you guys are approaching this business model and what you guys have with the multiple locations. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we get into all that exciting stuff, we want to hear about your guys' story because it's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you guys want to start?
Yeah. At the very beginning, how did your parents fall in love?
Well, you see, it was the summer of '69.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, it was getting out of the band in 2008. We started originally, we were, I was 2 months out of high school and got in the metal band in about 2008. We went ahead and stopped playing. My passion for cooking fell in, so went to culinary school. From culinary school, got into nutrition, how to meal prep, do all that good stuff. Got my first job at a steakhouse at a local casino. Started going to the gym pretty regularly, and from there, just working out every day became my religion, became everything I wanted to do. Started training with the manager there, and he had told me one day, hey,
this was like this is just a Globo gym.
It wasn't necessarily a Globo gym. They did a lot of functional stuff, boxing, Muay Thai. It was a well-rounded, a lot of different things at that gym. It wasn't just your bodybuilding, LA Fitness. It was ran very different, very customer service. They knew our name. It was like Cheers in the place. So that's what made me fall in love with this place in 2007. So as I started working out with the manager there, he taught me a lot of really good things, a lot of great things. He came to me one day and said, hey, you would be a great trainer. And as I mentioned before, it was one of those things that I never looked at myself as a personal trainer or someone that could help somebody else. But after helping myself and a few close friends, it really turned into something I thought I could do for the community. And as I approached it, I went and got my certification, NESM. I went for the best of the best. Started just training, had a circuit class at 5 a.m., really fell in love with the Todd Dirk and the functional fitness, the TRX, the tire flips, the kettlebell swings. Yeah. It was a lot more than standing in front of the mirror and doing rep after rep and counting your stuff. And as I started doing that, I got a little bit better, but I wanted to get more into the business side. Why are people coming in? What are they looking to achieve? Why are they achieving it? What were their goals? So becoming the personal training director, I had that chance and opportunity to sit back and listen to these people's stories and why they're coming to the gym and make the sale, not because the gym needed the money, but because this is what was going to help that client. And kind of stepped away from the personal training aspect. During that time is when another trainer at the facility introduced me to CrossFit. Went on the main site, started doing main site workouts. I'm on the treadmill doing the 400-meter run with the kettlebell swings, with the sit-ups, and people are looking at me like I'm the crazy guy.
You were the crazy
I was a crazy guy.
Yeah.
We've all been that guy.
What's interesting, too, is you had this experience with managing personal trainers and actually doing sales. I think for the majority of people who are running boxes right now, the sales component is a mystery. And it's really cool that you got the sales training and that experience
for sure
when you weren't running the entire business and you were able to focus on just that.
Yeah. The guys over at the fitness center were the biggest mentors. You guys just had the episode with mentorship, and it really made me sit back and think of who's really mentored me over the years. And, you know, those guys over there, Eric, the previous owner, was an amazing mentor. Josh, the manager at the time, he taught me everything. I mean, literally how to wipe my ass type kind of thing at the business. So that really shifted things over here and why it became such a great thing here is I knew how to hit the objective, why we're doing this. It wasn't just about the dollar signs. It was about what does this client really need in life and what's going to help them. Hey, I'm not just going to sell a 3-time-a-week membership for $389 because the gym's going to profit. It was more like, listen, lady, like you've never worked out a day in your life. You need to be held accountable. So sitting back and doing all the assessments, the phone calls, the follow-ups, that really integrated into the business here. So yeah, it definitely was something that helped me out as a business owner. But yeah, but getting into that type situation, I feel it was the best time and the best period. So yeah.
Nice. So you were doing the personal training. You were managing sales, not a sales floor, but
I wasn't an actual salesman. I was the personal training director. So I was giving the personal trainers the client. So I would sign them up, find out what they needed, then talk with the personal trainer what time was best for them, who would mesh well with each other, and then send them on their way to that.
And you got introduced to CrossFit.
CrossFit,
you were the crazy guy in the corner.
Summer of 2011. Yep.
And then did you start doing more CrossFit in the box, or at what point did you decide to go on your own?
Yeah, so what we did from there was it was the summer of 2011, really falling in love with CrossFit, following the main site, doing all the workouts, and it was probably, I want to say, fall of 2011, approached the owner of the facility, and he had some opportunities to do some other things with the gym, and I came to him, and he came to me with the idea and said, hey, let's try this CrossFit thing. So it was December of 2011 I got my level 1. From there, we started running just a couple classes, hooked up with a local guy up the street from another CrossFit box, Richard from CrossFit Riverside. Reached out to him from a mutual friend, and it asked, hey, this is what I want to do. Can you help us out? He sent a couple coaches down, and from there, they came down. We mentored them. They mentored us, and it was a love-hate relationship with those guys, and we still keep in great contact with all of them. But in 2012 is when we affiliated as KO CrossFit. From KO CrossFit, we started with 800 square feet in the back of a fitness center. You had to walk through the ellipticals, the treadmills, the box room, the functional room, the weightlifting room, and make your way to this back corner where we were doing most of the exercises. It was about a year later that we had the opportunity to look for a satellite location. So we went and searched every different warehouse, every tire shop, every whatever. We ended up falling in love with this facility just because of the fact we knew we could grow left and right. They weren't cement walls. It wasn't your 2,000 square feet. You're stuck here. This is all you can do. My mentality was, I'm going to go that way, and I'm going to go that way. So we literally started with about 2,500 square feet. And within the next year, we went to 3,500 to 4,500. Now we're sitting in 7,200 square feet.
Yeah, this is interesting to me. Most boxes I walk into, and the standard size is somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 square feet. And, especially in Southern California, anything over 2,500 square feet, it's a big box. Yeah. And it was cool to walk in here and go, oh, we have some space. And when you start talking about it, it's like, you're not finished. You're talking about, oh, we can expand that direction. We can expand that direction.
I'm going another 7,000 square feet over there.
I'm going, holy shit, man. Like, this is big already. Yeah. And it's impressive that you have the vision of going beyond that. Yeah. At what point did you guys team up?
Well, we've ran competitions here for the last 5 years, starting from very small. It used to be called the KO Clash, now it's just the Clash. So we'd always outreach to different box owners and athletes in the area, like, hey, can you guys come help us judge? You got any members? You got this? Both of our mutual friend, JJ, I've known since high school. He ran CrossFit downtown Riverside. Just called him up and said, hey, I need some judges. Can you bring some dudes down? I said, yeah, I got some people. Well, one of the people was this guy. Came down, helped us judge, sat back, and I remember him. Our front desk used to be over here, and I remember this guy sitting back, and he was questioning me like, hey, how'd you get here? How did this happen? This and that. This is what I do. I'm running a gym out of my garage and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And we really kicked it off that day, and we just kept in contact. I've watched this guy grow from a garage to one facility to another facility and really just kind of, made his own thing happen.
How long ago was that?
So
4 years ago?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, we affiliated at my other gym starting in the garage in 2013. It was June 2013. And I remember it because you had a podcast. It was episode 70, how to start a garage gym. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. Cool. So I just followed all those steps, right? I'm like, yeah, might as well, right?
Right.
And Out in Paris, where my other gym is, there's not a lot, right? And
what piqued your interest to do it in the first place, or what piqued your interest in CrossFit? Because I imagine that wasn't the first show you ever watched of ours, which means that you were into. What got you into the fitness thing?
So I was always kind of a bigger guy. You know, grew up the big kid, right?
Yeah.
And fitness was never my thing. In fact, I went into band to avoid having to do gym in middle school. So I was totally against it, right?
What instrument?
Oh, drums. Come on.
Drums. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I had to do something.
That's
Right? I
a
couldn't
cool,
play
that's a
clarinet.
cool factor, all right? He's not a lead singer. So
Right?
The most out of shape guy who plays drums.
Right. No, but fast forward mid-20s, I remember I was at the mall and with my wife, and I couldn't find pants that fit me, and that was that realization that went, set in for me. It's like, either I go shop at a big and tall store, or I change right now.
Yeah.
And so I just started running around my neighborhood, right, trying to clean it up diet-wise. Joined a Globo gym and started, lifting weights. Did that for probably about 5 years. Started snowboarding. And that's actually kind of my transition piece into getting into more functional stuff.
Yeah.
Because with the Globo gym and everything, I was more doing just aesthetics, right? Getting big, all that stuff. And with the snowboarding, big isn't always your friend, right? You hit hard, right? So I was also the weirdo in the yoga studio with the plyo boxes, jumping and figuring out how to do all the tricks when, snow down here in California is kind of rare, right? So I spent 8 months focusing on all my plyo. And I saw a buddy, he was on Instagram, and he was ripped, right? I'm like, okay, what's this guy doing? Turns out it was CrossFit, right? And so I searched on the affiliate finder, and there was an affiliate 5 minutes down the road. So I'm like, cool, let's go do this thing, right? I'm in decent shape already, right? 8 minutes into that first workout, I thought I was going to die, right? I realized at that point, I'm not as fit as I thought I was, right? And so I started doing CrossFit, and I fell in love with it, right? From that first workout, I fell in love with it. And so since Paris really didn't have a lot, I was driving 25, 35 minutes to get to this gym, right? And
There's a town that doesn't have any gyms or anything like that.
No Globo gyms, nothing like that, right? And that really weighed heavy on me, right? Is like, hey, my neighbors don't have anything that they can do fitness-wise, and I just see the obesity epidemic really hitting Paris hard. So that was really kind of the catalyst for me is, hey, I have a garage, right? There's a bunch of junk in it, but it's like, clear all that stuff out, right? Get a barbell, put some platforms down, and just start moving, right? Invite all your neighbors over. And that's really how it happened is people kind of caught the vision early in that, hey, we're running around the neighborhood. We're doing something different, right? And people really picked up on that. And it was just this groundswell. And that's really how the gym got started is just a barbell for my birthday for my wife, right? And let's just move, right? So flash forward a year down the road, we're maxed out. Garage is maxed out. It's a 2-car garage. I'm working with 400 square feet, right? Some kettlebells, some barbells. And at that point, it's like, well, shit or get off the pot, right? So we started looking for locations, and we found one, and it was 2,000 square feet. It was beat down, right? It was in this automotive complex, and just tires and oil and all that stuff, right? I did not want this space. We looked for another 8 months, right? And guess where we ended up?
Take the space.
Right.
Space.
That space, right?
Oh yeah, I was in an old mechanic's garage for our first
Oh
gym
yeah.
too.
Yeah. So that was about a year and a half process from the garage, the start of the garage, to the first location, right? And then so we get into this first location, and it explodes, right? Packing the place out
in a good way.
Yeah.
it wasn't the chemicals left over from the automotive shop?
No
Okay,
oil
good.
or anything. But so a year down the road, we're maxed out, right? People doing double unders outside, tearing up their ropes, right? And so again, we're like, we need more space, right? So that's when we started looking at different options. We found this spot. It's 6,000 square feet. Perfect, right? The guys that were in there, it was a mattress shop, and they decided they wanted to go ahead and move everything out so that we could come in and do that. So it was.
Why is that?
It was occupied. They needed more space. They were working out of storage units and all that stuff, so they moved into a 20,000 square foot space, and they basically moved my gym into there.
Wow.
Yeah. So
cool.
it was a great thing, and so I mean we've had really good people in place at Paris, and they've freed me up to do a lot of other things, and that's how Jake and I got together. It's kind of always been my plan to grow and expand. The gyms are so landlocked that it's like if I want to serve more people, we need to go other places. And so that's when we started talking, maybe about
this was the competition last March 2016. He just happened to be leaning on the bars, and the owner originally of KO CrossFit had always told me, if I ever lost passion or emotion, it's time to let it go to you, Jake. And he had come to me about a year prior to that and told me, he was upfront, honest. The guy was amazing. He taught me so much stuff. He literally let me run this place the way the way I always wanted to run it. Didn't step a foot in here unless it was to pay the bills and do things he needed to. So he gave me that sort of freedom to let me just run with the ideas. As crazy as I am and the amount of ideas I do have, he was always on board with them. So I give him credit to letting me have those wings and fly. But he had told me, and I just happened to be talking to Brian one day, and Brian came to me one day and said, hey, dude, I want to open a gym in Riverside, but I don't want to come anywhere near you, as most people don't. Like, I have a not being a dick or anything. I've just
have a strong presence.
I've had my territory. This has been my neighborhood, and it still can happen any day. But I mean, if you go east, you're going to see 7 CrossFit gyms within a mile apart of each other. They're all doing great things, and I respect them. I know them, but no one's come within 6 miles of me. And Brian's like, "You've got a great location." I was like, "Yeah, I know I do." What are you thinking about, bud? Like, let's meet real quick. But it was really one of those things. Like, no, like if we could do something together, or I know he wanted a Riverside downtown location, and as I do too. I mean, that's just Riverside's the downtown area is really growing right now. We've got over 300,000 people in this city, and there's enough to go around to make anybody fit in this community. So when he sat down and we finally said, "Okay, well, hey, let's think about doing this," we just kind of made it happen. We both vibed. We knew each other. We're still in the honeymoon stage, so it's going really good right now. But I don't see us bumping heads because he's not coming in on that day-to-day operations as I am. I'm here every day. Within the last 3 weeks, I was here 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day, as I'd been for the last 6 years. Brian's got Paris that he's really making strive. And then we're already looking toward Menifee, Palm Springs, downtown Riverside. So we've got some big goals, especially with Logic. We've got a lot of big goals. Our business coach is telling us to hold up, but Marcus is told us to slow down. But we've got you guys, and we've got some good people backing us. So
what's cool about this story is you guys are coming from 2 different perspectives. It's Brian has this like OG type of experience, which is very similar to mine, which is like, there was no CrossFit gym in my town, so we did it out of the garage, and then we went into this auto mechanics garage, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I mean, it's a very similar story to what I had going on. And then Jake, you have the I had the personal training experience and this sales background, and the merging of the two, and the fact that you guys are teaming up, bringing those 2 very different perspectives, I think makes a very good whole.
Yeah. And the one thing we wanted from the get-go was, as I mentioned earlier, is we want to run this like a live concert. We want to run this like a festival. We want to run this as a music industry because obviously we both love punk rock. We both love metal. We vibe on the same music. So as I was telling you guys, when somebody comes through that door, I want to give them that live concert experience, that holy shit, what just happened type thing. And I think that's come off of my coaching, his coaching, all my coaches. I mean, it's just what we want to do that day to day is, we're not the top elite. We're not regional games athletes by any means, but that's what's made us different is because we want them to have that experience.
Yeah, you guys make this fun. You guys have a killer vibe. You sense it right when you get here. You see it with your athletes. You see it with your staff. Your energy when you and I first started talking. Your vision is palpable. It's very, very strong. You communicate it well. You are someone who moves groups, and that is very, very known here within your community. So, seeing how you approach this and understanding, my background being largely in music as well, and understanding to what it's like to put on a show, and the way that you were connecting the dots between, like, hey, it's just like, you have someone getting drinks from you at the front. It's just like someone going to the bar at the show. Exactly. Someone buying apparel, they're like buying your band swag. Yeah. And just how you're making it a story, you're making it an experience for people. People want to be a part of that, and that's super important to acknowledge. People, your shirt is not just, just throw a logo on a shirt. Yeah. There's more to it than that.
There's a story behind that.
That's
shirt.
Exactly right. And you make people feel that, right? And I think that's why you've been so successful here, and how you guys have teamed up, and the characteristics that you bring, Jake and Brian, your background with, like Mike was saying, the story, and you started in your garage, and you also having the construction background, and you guys are a really unique combination, which is why we were so pumped to do this show. There's an infinite amount of combinations out there with business partners, but this was a really a cool marriage between two different personalities and what you guys are bringing, and it's been abundantly clear in your guys' success over like the last 4 or 5 months since you guys have really come together under the Athletics United brand and really started to make some serious moves. We'll get into that stuff here more in a minute.
My name is Scott Picucci. I'm the owner of the recently opened CrossFit Des Plaines. I actually had the pleasure of working with Angelo Cisco and taking on this venture of opening up my own gym. So I mainly worked with other coaches and did the scheduling, programming the workouts of the day, taking on all of the fitness-related responsibilities of the gym, but not really too involved with any of the business side of things. So in doing so, I kind of had this passion and this drive, and I had this idea that I wanted to give the athletes more. And in order to kind of implement my vision, I decided that I wanted to open up my own CrossFit gym. I had the vision of what I wanted to create. I had this drive to implement these ideas that I had, but I didn't really have any direction. I didn't really have a path on how to get me there. I started thinking about like a 5-year plan and where I wanted to be in 5 years. I knew where I wanted to be, but I didn't really know how to get there. So that's kind of when I decided to team up with Angelo and take on his help as a business coach to help me get to where I wanted to be. In working with Angelo, he really was an instrumental part of helping me to get where I am now and creating this place. And he gave me the knowledge, he gave me the guidance, and he helped me learn how to actually implement my vision and to create the gym and the community that I wanted. He was able to help take me from that place where I was a coach with a vision to actually fulfilling my dream and opening up my own gym, and now I have this 5,000 square foot facility that I'm able to host and workouts and foster this community and start to build and continue to build upon this community that I wish to create. Originally, with Angelo's help, I was able to open up a gym, starting off, opening up the doors on day 1 with over 50 members, and we're continuing growing at a great rate, great pace. After only 2 weeks in, we're already over 65 members. Anyone who's looking to open up their own gym, or even just to take their business to that next level, and hiring or getting with a business coach, just like somebody that has the tools and knowledge like Angelo Cisco has, and really helping you take your business to the next level.
And we're back with Jake and Brian, and man, we covered the first half, your story up to, about this point, and you guys could tell me better. Did we cover up to maybe you guys met each other 4 years ago, but really teamed up about a year ago?
Pretty close. You're going on almost exactly a year.
So what's happened in the last year?
Well, shit. You want to go from there? Well, what hasn't happened last year?
Yeah, it's been a busy year.
It's been a hectic year.
Yeah.
A good year, though. Over the year, sat down with the previous owner, really talked politics behind the prices and what we need to do and our vision and everything. We wanted to attack and make sure we did this for the right reasons and not the wrong. Not saying that we weren't going to make it as business owners, because obviously he's already had previous experience owning a business in multiple locations. So it was really making a fact that how do we keep the staff that we already had on board? How can we make the payroll work? How can we make sure we do this with the right accounting, with the right people? Are we going to keep the people? Are they going to go anywhere? Regardless if I was here or not, when you see a change in name, shit happens. And
oh, yeah. Well, one question about that, too, is were there contracts in place?
Yeah, everything
okay,
had contracts.
Good. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of times when people go to sell gyms, a lot of times there's what's common for me is someone, you know, I'll see a message come through. It's like, oh, I'm thinking about buying a gym, or I'm thinking about selling a gym.
Yeah.
I go, oh, what's the membership? And then they go, oh, you know, there's 180 members. I was like, okay, cool. You know, what's the base receivables? Oh,
yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
Well, you know, what's the contract length of, you know, all the members? Like, oh, there's no contract. I'm like, I go back, I'm like, there's no members.
Yeah.
And then there's confusion about how there's no membership. But I mean, it sounds like that was covered.
It was covered because going into it, we weren't buying KO CrossFit. We were buying the assets. We were buying the members and we were buying the equipment. And that's what we had to make sure everything on paper was. No, you know, although I've been the affiliate owner of KO CrossFit since the beginning and the face of the facility, it was still, we didn't want to take on the KO CrossFit. That wasn't the name that we agreed on. So it was more or less buying the membership base.
That's an interesting point when buying a business at all is buying the assets and not the business. Because
correct,
if you buy the business, then you're buying the assets and the liabilities. And if you're buying the assets, then there could be these hidden liabilities that you don't see. And then
100%.
6 months later, you get bitten in the ass.
For
so
sure.
That's something to note for anyone listening who's
Yeah.
interested in buying one.
Luckily, we knew the right people and the right accountants, the right business people that said, don't do that. Don't, you know, nothing against the previous owner, but you don't want those coming back in tears like, hey, you have this now, you have that responsibility. The most tedious part was switching from one billing company to the next, going from an ASF to a Wodify. It was some tedious work for me for 4 weeks.
You guys that use ASF too?
Yeah.
Yeah, we use ASF before there was like any like CrossFit specific.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Whatever.
Yeah, they're old school, great people, but
Yeah.
moving to Wodify was more CrossFit friendly, more functional fitness friendly. But at their point, I had to go in and look at every contract and put them in word for word.
Manually, right?
Manually. Are they on a month-to-month? Are they on a 6-month? Are they on a 12-month? It took me 4 weeks, about 4 hours a day. It was the most tedious, but once I was done, there were some conflicts after that, but I got most of it done.
You knew everything about everybody at that point.
I knew everything about everybody at any
already
point.
did.
I could tell you any member's first, last name, what their monthly. That's just me. I signed them up. I canceled them. I froze them. I know when their freeze is up. So
Nice.
Yeah, and this is about when you and I started talking, because you were starting to, you had reached out right when you were considering this whole transition, and you were inquiring about logic and, hey, if I do this, what would that look like?
Yeah.
And I remember our conversations very, very distinctly, because your story, your plans, your vision, and everything were very different from what I usually hear on a daily basis. So, you know, at that point, you're like, look, I've been running this gym, and I've been in the Southern California also as a gym owner for many years. I was very familiar with the KO brand and you running it, and you guys had a really strong presence down here, and I didn't know that there was another owner behind it, and you are now transitioning from being the face and the guy running it, but not necessarily the owner of the full business itself, to really taking this thing over, making it your own, and in the process, you know, letting go of the old KO brand that you had built and making something that is truly your own.
Yeah.
And this is, and you're saying, hey, I'm going to be partnering with this guy, and this is the idea, and we want to create this thing, Athletics United, and we're going to have multiple locations and all that. Tell me a little bit about what that vision was, where it started, and then how it kind of started to get some traction.
Well, shit, even when me and you talked, every time we spoke on the phone, you gave me plenty of opportunities. Your cell phone was always open to me, but it wasn't even this place. Remember, I told you I was looking at a couple of different buildings, what's going to be right. Hey, Marcus, should I stay here if this is the way it's going to go? And you gave me some great advice. I won't mention that advice because it got a little dirty, but at a certain, it was sure, though. Marcus, like, you got to do what you're doing, you know, and he really let me know, like, Jake, like, this is about you now, and this is about your family, and this is about what's going to be the best step for KO CrossFit and Athletics United. My vision back then was literally to build upon what I've already created and more. As mentioned when you guys got here, like, I can't go left anymore, but I could go to the parking lot. I could do a Venice Beach, Muscle Beach type bodybuilding area outside with some rigs and everything for the, just whatever, barbecue. I can't go to the right anymore. But my vision overall was to have a place that everybody could feel welcome, not just the CrossFit enthusiasts, because CrossFit's changed so much in the last 3 years that we've all seen. Dumbbells weren't accepted. Bench press wasn't accepted 3 years ago. Now you're seeing that incorporated more. I'm always trying to be a step ahead of what's going to happen in the fitness industry, as I was 8 years ago, becoming a lover of the TRX and the Todd Durkin workouts. And what really motivated me was I wanted to be a UFC trainer. I wanted to coach UFC fighters, although I was never a fighter or jiu-jitsu or any of that.
Conditioning is,
that's the type of stuff I loved, was that type of conditioning. And beside the CrossFit athlete, I really think MMA fighters are probably the most elite athletes that you could find. These guys are training 10 different things. As you know, you're in a very good spot where you are.
I mean, you have the skill levels, but you're also, when you compete, someone's trying to knock your head off.
Exactly.
So that's like a whole nother level. I saw, Dave Tate wrote an article. I don't know if you know who Dave Tate is, elite FTS, and one of the best powerlifting coaches. And he was talking about different things he wants powerlifters to stop doing. He was like, you're not that tough. Don't compare yourself to UFC fighters. No one's trying to knock your head off while you're pulling the deadlift. Yes, it's heavy. Yes, being under a squat bar can be dangerous, but no one's trying to kill you while you're doing it. Yeah. So it was interesting. It was a cool perspective to read that.
But not to get too far off subject, but that was really what motivated me to get started, was not just, as much as I love CrossFit, I mean, you'll come in here and people are like, dude, I haven't done a CrossFit workout in a month, but to me, it's like I fell in love with powerlifting. The last year I really grew into powerlifting. That's where me and Brian really kind of connected, and we helped each other. We competed for the first time together. But not only that, I mean, that's why I have bags upstairs. That's why I have a bodybuilding area. That's why I have this we do Spartan training on Sundays. I've got a coach that does nothing but obstacle course training.
That's cool.
And when she came to me, she's our boot camp instructor, and she came to me with the idea, and I said, whatever you want to do, let's do it. I don't want to do shit half-assed, though. Obviously, I'm not going to bring Zumba up in here. Even if it made me $1 million a month, I'm not going to get Zumba.
Well, $1 million a month. Let's
million
reconsider.
Don't be ridiculous.
I saw you reconsider it as you said that. You're like, dude, it just rolled off the tongue.
I'll put Zumba in my living room.
Mike's teaching class.
But I don't even know what it looks like, but I'll learn it.
But everything I've wanted to do here and everything I wanted to create, it was something that was going to be beneficial for everybody. And the name KO CrossFit is as good as the name as it had a bad name too. Anyone that has CrossFit in their name nowadays is getting that bad rep from the person that's never even tried it. You've got the nurse that works with 40 other nurses. She had one bad experience. She's going to tell those 39 nurses how horrible CrossFit was. Are those 39 ever going to come and try it? And that's how I've always been. So with the name Athletics United, it was really kind of opening up to a larger demographic in our area and not just sticking to that CrossFit name. And that's brought a lot of people. It could be part of logic, but it was, I think, the transition of the name and accepting more people, having more options for people. Even if we get them in on boot camp, they're going to try CrossFit. They're going to see the CrossFit happening next to them. So we run simultaneously 2 classes at a time.
Well, this makes sense. You're not only doing CrossFit, so it makes sense to be branded Athletics United because you have the Spartan stuff going on, a boot camp going on, powerlifting. These things are not what are commonly done in a CrossFit gym, and you have CrossFit classes going on as well.
Yes, correct. CrossFit will always be our bread and butter. That will always, CrossFit Seek and Destroy will be our main purpose here. But it's not. It's so much to bring the other people in, to introduce them now to Seek and Destroy, to let them know, shit, that's not that bad. Boot camp is just as hard. They're just using a different programming, a different method. And that's really what I want to provide. And Brian was so on track with that, and that's kind of slowly what he's doing over to Paris now. So we're really trying to find those systems where we have everything in place, to where we've got the Waterfly, we've got the Logic, we've got the powerlifting, weightlifting, boot camp, CrossFit, personal training, small group training, an open gym. We're open from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. We don't close throughout the day. People could come and utilize the gym whenever they want.
So, I know a lot of CrossFit boxes, and I've been, in the industry for a decade now, and a lot of times when I see gyms doing, all right, we got CrossFit, we got powerlifting, we got boot camp, and it's like a big no-go. Right. It's like, you know what? This is not a good idea. Going to get spread way too thin. What's the strategy look like, and how are you pulling it off well? Because
And I think what it was is just before you get into that too much was what he said a second ago about I don't want to half-ass anything.
Exactly.
Yep.
The guys who are doing that, where they're like, well, we got to add that boot camp program because I know people like it, and I've got to add this. People asking for Olympic lifting, but they treat it like the stepchild program.
They're not passionate about it.
They're not passionate about it, and they don't give it the full attention it deserves for it to actually thrive. If you don't build it like its own business unit, and you give it a full three-dimensional support system, and to launch it, to facilitate it, to market it, to sell it, and you just kind of treat it as this program off to the side, how do you think it's going to perform?
So I think a lot of times what I've seen in the past is somebody is struggling with their CrossFit program, and then they start stacking on other things. You can't start tacking on more stuff until your core business is just nailed down tight.
And that's why you did so well. Your core, the whole CrossFit core that you had in place, was so strong that you're able to start adding these other satellite programs that were now complementary, because your vision was always just fitness, right? CrossFit was the kind of the baseline for you, and is also, I think, for a lot of gyms that are trying to do something similar to what you guys have here, functional training is a really good kind of center point. And then you can have all these other satellite programs that it all, people can come in through this secondary entry point and realize, oh, I came in for boot camp, but that looks really cool, and I really like the coaches, and they said it'd be a good fit. And next thing you know, everything's playing nice with one another, versus where it's kind of treated as I'm not even doing well with my CrossFit program, I better add another shitty program, and then wonder why now I'm spread too thin and neither of them are performing well. Right?
With our programs, it's always been, my whole logic starting off in this industry was, and I learned this from the previous owner and my manager at the time, don't just start a class. Make sure you have a following before you just put that out. So here we are, it's November, we've never ran boot camp, and I look at Brian and go, well, we've got CrossFit classes, let's start boot camp. It's November 1st, there's boot camp. No, let's get an interest list. Let's get at least 30 people that are going to sign up for this 5 a.m. boot camp class. Hey, let's not have me or you who don't teach boot camp just filling in, or you can get the Joe Schmo CrossFit coach to just start coaching those classes. The person who's doing boot camp has to be a fucking boot camper. They have to be passionate about boot camping. You know what I mean? And so right now, the 2 boot camp coaches we have, one's a CrossFit level 1. He was running a boot camp in Tustin. He lives out here. He wanted to coach CrossFit, but he was passionate about boot camp. He doesn't do CrossFit and boot camp at the moment. You know what I mean? He is passionate about boot camp, so he's coaching the boot camp.
And crushing it.
So it's not where it's like my 5 a.m. coach is doing a CrossFit class and runs over at 6 a.m. and switches gears to this boot camp class.
Right.
Now I have this completely separate.
This sounds like a person who would do it better than you every day of the week.
Yeah.
That's the person you want to hire.
And
for
I
that.
could easily, I've coached the functional, the boot camps, the circuit classes. I could have done the 4 classes a day, 6 days a week, but I'm not passionate about boot camp right now. I love seeing these boot campers. They're crazier than CrossFitters. I mean, they are, dude. But now I'm seeing the transition from boot camp to CrossFit.
Sold. I'm doing boot camp from now on.
But that's really where it is. Was we didn't just sit back and go, let's just throw everything out there and hope it works. It's no, we've got the interest list. We need to make sure that we've got this many people to make sure this even works. So that's
I mean, it really has to fit our culture, right? And that's really the thing that we kept going back to is, does this fit our culture, right? Is it going to fit with the people that we are marketing to, right? Like you joked, we're not going to do Zumba because it doesn't fit our culture, right? So you kind of always have to go back to that and be that introspective and say, hey, does this fit me, right? If it doesn't, don't do it. Right, because you're not going to be passionate about it.
Square peg in a round hole.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so for us, it really we treat this thing as a sliding structure. Right. We have boot camp, we have CrossFit, we have specialty courses. Right. We have small group training, we have personal training. Right. You don't have to stay in one of those things forever. Right. I mean, like with boot camp, right? They can still do PT. Right. If you see somebody squat that is just jacked up, maybe pull them out and put them in PT for a little while. And that's okay, right? Get them moving again, put them back in boot camp. Or they can see boot camp, go to CrossFit, to specialty courses. I mean, that's really how we treat the whole business structure, right? Yeah. And, I mean, we talk about it a lot with workouts being scalable, right? You can scale up, scale down. Why don't we treat business like that? And that's really kind of where we hit our stride, is we can treat our business that way. And I mean, 20 gyms in 5 years, that's really our plan. And so, I mean, in places that we are looking to go, maybe it's going to be 2,000 square feet. How does this work in 2,000 square feet? We need to scale that down and treat it like that, right? Or, hey, 14,000 square feet, cool. We need to scale all the way up, right? And so that's really how we're viewing the business, and we're treating it as such.
Yeah.
And for those who are, well, obviously no one's going to know aside from the people who are listening prior to this, but how has it been the last few months? You guys, I remember I got the first text message after we really started working together, and you're within the first, couple of months. How many people have you added in like the last 3 months?
As of right now, we're over 100.
100 new members in like what, 3.5, 4 months?
3 months.
Yeah, 59 in January alone.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
So November didn't really count because we were switching everybody over. December, the slow month, was a great month for us, but we're still kind of catching that stride. January 59, February 18, and I believe last month about 20.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
And going back to the culture, again, with the boot camp and the CrossFit and the personal training small group, we've found what we're looking for. When we first had that meet, we're never going to be a regionals top, get people to the games type of gym. I want people introduced to our facility that have never done CrossFit, that have never worked out a day in their life, that don't even know what CrossFit is, that don't know what boot camp is.
Yeah.
They just happen to see the sign that says boot camp and this, well, my friend goes there. That's where I really try and strive, and we start the education process right there. What is it you're looking for? So I would rather take that middle-aged male or female and get them back in the shape that they were in high school and early college. And we've talked about this. We've had athletes leave and go to other facilities. I used to be angry at that. I'm not angry at that anymore. I know we brought that person to that point to now they're ready to go strive on the open and fucking kick ass.
Yeah.
So, and then maybe they don't fit the culture, and that's okay. We always want members that fit that culture, right? Square peg, round hole, right? If they don't fit the culture, that's all right. That it's not, we're not bad, they're not bad.
Yeah.
There's a square hole down the street.
But I used to take it personal. It bummed me out. It was one of those things like, why'd this person leave? And then at the end of the day, I go, you know what, that person couldn't even fucking air squat before they got into my facility. And now they're going to go crush the open at a regional type facility.
Yeah.
We've done our job.
But I think that's an important thing to emphasize here, because it's about understanding what your lane is so that you can stay in it and you can specialize. Everyone, there's so often you'll hear people who are trying to serve that client, and they're willing to like put out everybody else, which is actually who they can serve best, right? You need to align, who can you and do you want to serve best, right? Yeah. What is your lane? Who do you crush it with? Who do you enjoy coming to class with, where you're like, man, I like taking those average Joe people who feel, who are out of shape, have no exposure, and help them fall in love with fitness, right? That's a conversation you and I had a while back, and that I think that was very eye-opening for you, in that you're like, I know my lane, I know where I want to go, and I'm cool with those guys leaving or us not having any competitors or putting any major scores on the board, because that's not the business you're in. And that's totally fine. Everyone thinks it's like, oh, just because I have a CrossFit gym, I have to produce regional competitors, and that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Not that that's not great. If that's your lane,
it's awesome.
Crush it,
it's
right?
Great.
But you have to make sure that your business supports that. You've designed the business to be able to thrive on that model, just like you guys have figured out how to crush it in your lane. Sure. And now you're having fun. You've eliminated all the bottlenecks. You guys are just barreling forward. The business is healthy. It's growing in a scalable way. It's really awesome to see, man.
Thank you. Yeah. What up?
Smooth, Mike.
So we're talking Mike's just like,
good transition.
Cool. Yeah. I was like watching this. It was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was what do you say to a box owner that might be hesitant to work with Barbell Logic? To work with us, to do Logic or
don't be a jackass, man. Invest in what you need to do and be smart about it. I mean, I did my research. I had the conversation 3 months prior with Marcus. I did that phone call. I'll sit back all day. I knew my shit. I knew how to, right now with the business coaching, I know how to sell personal training, but it just helps you that much. It sparks that fire again. It gets your wheels moving and turning. And before Logic, I would just say, I was here 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day. Everything was on paper. Prospects calling them back, emailing them, trying to give them that phone call that they needed the next day. Logic has just made it that much easier for me as a business owner to take my time in the morning and not be here right at 9 o'clock. Get here at 10, get here at 11. Like I mentioned, I had a rough 3 weeks. Infusionsoft really opened my eyes to be able to handle shit from my cell phone. I've got my cell phone on me. I get the email. I could automatically write those people back, book the appointment. So any business owner that's hesitating, don't be a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Straight up. It's a no-brainer, dude. I mean, make your job easier, dude. Work smarter, not harder. That's the whole theory in CrossFit. It's the same thing with your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it's funny because CrossFit, I mean, statistically, there's really great coaches that are terrible businessmen. So if you're struggling doing the stuff you're bad at, why not make it easier on yourself?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, get back to coaching.
Yeah.
Get back to doing what you love and make all of these things that are difficult for you way easier on yourself. And that's what Logic does.
That was literally the whole premise of how the whole thing was born, was that we see an industry of people who are so passionate about what they do and trying to make an impact and have more than the chops necessary to make that impact on the athletes. But if the business isn't healthy, it's running them into the floor, which means there's a short timeline on how long they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And now you lose a great coach.
Yeah.
I knew we had a great thing at KO CrossFit, and the call to Marcus was just an eye opener, and just getting Logic, it took the guesswork out of it for me, I guess you could say, because I've been here, like you said earlier. Most people don't have that opportunity to be at the gym all day. They have a second job. They're doing other things. They're in and out of the gym as a business owner. But me, I had the luxury to be here. I made it work. I wanted it to work. So Infusionsoft and Logic just made it that much better. And plus, I didn't want the headache of finding a web designer, you know?
Yeah.
It was a one-stop shop. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. Web designers are like tattoo artists. We were talking earlier.
That's right.
You know? It's on their time, dude.
That's
so,
right.
But no, really, it's definitely helped.
Yeah, coming into the business, the one thing that I did notice was all the processes and procedures that were in place were good, but they were antiquated. And it was, I love all the processes and procedures. That's really where I hit my stride. And so it was really important to me to let Jake thrive. And that meant putting all of the right pieces in place so that the thing could grow.
Yep. Yeah, it takes even the gym owners who have good processes, but it's inefficient.
Right.
It's still just chewing up all you and your staff's time, and it's just not the best use of your time. You should be connecting with your members and with your team and building a business, not sitting there shuffling paperwork. Just because you can do it the hard way doesn't mean it's the right way.
Right. I mean, really, you have to look at it like, how much is my time worth? And I guarantee your time is worth way more than you think it is.
Yeah.
And just spend the money. Right. Yeah. I mean, really, the investment, it will pay tenfold, big time. Just do Logic. It just makes sense, right? I mean, it's all done for you, right?
This is like the best advertisement ever.
Perfect.
No, awesome, man.
You're still going to give me that 20, right? You're still buying lunch, right?
No, thanks, guys. I appreciate the kind words. You know, the point here was to share your guys' story, because you guys have just been absolutely smashing it. You know, in a highly competitive market.
Right.
You know, Southern California is nothing to scoff at when it comes to like having to have your chops and not just to be able to put up a good front, but to really be able to deliver. This is a very like fitness minded culture here in SoCal. And, there's a lot of competition, and you guys have built a kick-ass business, man. And just watching it go from even it being a good, strong brand from before when it was just you and KO to you guys merging together, starting the Athletics United brand. You guys have built something awesome, man. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the next move? What are we looking at?
So we're in the process of launching a full online store. I've partnered with Brandon over at Rise Above in Huntington Beach. He owns the Renegade Collective. They do a full online store, which will take all the work out of me and Brian's hands and going and picking up the shirts and, hey, what looks good, what color, what fabric. So that's really what we want to do, is not so much dive into the clothing line, but really kind of give everyone around the world the chance to pick up an Athletics United shirt if they want it, because, again, it's not just about the fitness, it's about the lifestyle and the community aspect of it. We are still working with a Menifee location, and we are in the works of our downtown location now.
Yeah.
So 16 more to go.
So slowly but surely, this one is running. Obviously, nothing's perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect. But this one is off and going. My staff has been nothing but amazing. My coaches have backed me since day one. A couple of my coaches have been with me from the beginning. So I owe a lot of respect to those guys for being so loyal and faithful to me. This place wouldn't be what it is without those coaches, and they've given me the freedom with my daughter to be able to, take care of her when I need to. So, So now that they're kind of in place, they know how to run Infusionsoft. They know how to sign somebody. They know the process. Now it's time to take off. So.
Scale up.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks again for being on the show today. Always a pleasure chatting with you guys. Thanks for sharing your story, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.